Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Optica, where we invite you to open your eyes and see what God is doing. Today, as always, we encourage you to either subscribe or share with your friends if it's inspirational, encouraging, or instructional for you. Today's episode is a very interesting one. I'm responding to quite a few questions. You probably won't believe it, but the questions are about lying. Today's episode on Optica, stop lying. Stop lying. How many times have you heard that phrase? Or how many times have you told that to your kids? Hey, stop lying. The question is, do we have a problem with honesty in modern society? Why do we see so many politicians, pastors, people who we look up to as role models not telling the truth? Do we have an honesty deficit? Listen, as you know, here in Optica, we try to analyze not just what people do, but why people do it. Why do we engage in lying? Why do people not tell the truth? I've been reading a book by a philosopher, Christian Miller. It's called Honesty, the Philosophy and Psychology of a Neglected Virtue. It's quite dense and it's filled with kind of a historical analysis of honesty. But let's talk more pragmatically. Something that you can talk to your kids about, or the people you're mentoring, or the people you're training in your executive C-suite classes, your leadership development classes. Why do people lie? And what is lying? Lying is not just not telling the truth. Lying is not just not telling the truth. Of course, lying is not telling the truth, but it's also more than that. It's the intention to mislead, the intention to deceive. And so lying has dimensions to it. So the easiest thing to define lying as is you're not telling the truth. You're intentionally telling a falsehood. But there's other things to honesty and lying. For example, omitting the truth. You know, holding back information with the intent to deceive. Why do we do that? Why do we hold back information with the intent to deceive? So lying is intentionally telling a mistruth. Lying is omission, intentionally holding back information with the purpose of deceiving. Lying is, and this one's a big one, especially on social media. Oh, don't tell anybody, but sometimes in platforms and in preaching, exaggeration, what people call hyperbole. You know, when you go to an event and there was 100 people, but you say there was 1,000. When you say you lead a group and really your group is 300-400 people, but you say you lead 10,000. Hyperbole, exaggeration. That's lying too. When you exaggerate things with the intention to mislead or impress. So lying is intentionally telling a mistruth or an untruth. Lying is intentionally omitting things for the purpose of deceiving. And lying is intentionally exaggerating things, engaging in hyperbole, either to make yourself look better or because you're in competition with somebody else. You know what else lying is? In not just exaggeration and hyperbole, not just omission, not just intentionally telling an untruth. Lying is claiming God told you something just to shelter yourself from people's reactions or people's questioning of your motives. It's trying to recruit God's voice into your own opinion. How many times have we said that? Oh, yeah, I'm doing this because God led me to do that, or God told me. Intentionally recruiting God into our own opinion, when the truth is, it's really our own opinion. And so lying is a problem. We have an honesty deficit. We have people who intentionally tell untruths. We have people who intentionally omit things with the purpose of deceiving or misleading. We have people who intentionally exaggerate or engage in hyperbole to make themselves look better. And we have people who recruit God into their own opinion so that they don't get pushed back on what they're saying. You know what the tragedy is of this? Really, really, this lying, this omission, this hyperbole, this recruiting of God into our own opinion is deeply rooted oftentimes in our own insecurity. So now that I've told you certain dimensions of lying, and there are many more, I strongly encourage you to read the book Honesty. Why do people lie? And let me tell you this. Why are you tempted to lie? Why am I tempted to lie? Oftentimes, it's deeply rooted in insecurity. We want to impress other people. We want to give the best image of ourselves. And sometimes online platforms lend themselves to this because people can't verify or check what we're saying or doing is actually correct, accurate, or really a facade that we're presenting. Our insufficiency and our insecurity and our insatiable desire to be liked or to be elevated often leads us to lying. Other times we lie for what we call pragmatic reasons. We don't want to offend. We want to shelter people from difficult conversations and difficult feelings. That too is rooted in an insecurity of likability. If I tell the truth, I won't be liked. How about this one? If I tell the truth, I won't be promoted in my denomination. I won't be promoted in my job. And so we value more the promotion or the elevation than character. I've been reading, and the truth is I'm reading this because I need to learn. And so I want you to hear this as part of my own journey. Questions of Character by Joseph Badaracco. And he uses, interestingly enough, characters in literature, like Grapes of Wrath and others, to talk about why people lie. And characters in literature, but it's reflective of you. It's reflective of me. We lie because we want to be promoted. We want to be liked. We want people to think better of us than we think they might if we told them the actual facts of the situation or the reality of what's going on. You know that this temptation is often most intense in leadership. You know why? Because we're often, and I need you to hear this because it's a reality that many of us struggle with. We're often more interested in curating image than curating character. I think I'll say that again. I think because I need to hear it. We are often more interested in curating image than curating character. And so we enter that slippery slope of exaggerating, of puffing up our resumes, of exaggerating the number of people we reach, or of omitting our frailties and omitting when we make mistakes, or intentionally saying statements that are misleading and deceptive. And so why do we keep lying? And we hear in kind of our own inner moral voice, stop lying. Stop lying. Because I think that society is often nourishing a culture of dishonesty. It's feeding it. It's feeding a culture where it's more important to be liked, applauded, followed, than to have an inner moral compass, than to have integrity. We've exchanged popularity for our character. It's a Faustian bargain. When we say our popularity and our influence is more important than our inner moral compass, than our character, we are easily tempted and easily fall into the temptation of lying. It's a problem. Because lying destroys credibility. Lying destroys trust. Lying destroys relationships. And most importantly, lying deteriorates character. And Paul writes in the book of Ephesians, the 4th chapter and the 25th verse. Ephesians 4:25. Let us speak honestly. One translation might say, let us speak the truth amongst ourselves, amongst our sisters and our brothers. You ever wonder why people have to encourage us to tell the truth? Because lying is easy. And we excuse it. We're doing it for the greater good. We're doing it because, as that famous movie Men of Honor, people can't handle the truth. Remember that scene with Jack Nicklaus and Tom Cruise?
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth. I think we underestimate people. Not only can people handle the truth, they need the truth. Now, the truth does not need to be cruel. The truth does not need to be nasty. The truth doesn't have to be disrespectful. Scripture tells us that we should speak the truth in love. That truth and love can walk hand in hand. There are people who in the name of truth, offend people, are disrespectful, attack people. They lack tact. No. Truth is not just telling things that are factual and with honesty. Truth also has a tone and a tenor. It cares about the person with which you're communicating, with whom you're communicating. And so honesty and cruelty are not synonymous. Honesty and disrespect are not synonymous. I think, one of the challenges we have, and recently I was listening to a lecture, is that we lack moral formation. And so because people want to exert their influence and their power, they exaggerate, they omit facts, they intentionally tell them untruths with the intent to deceive, or worse still, here this one, and I know because don't tell anybody, but I've been victimized by untruth. Oh, I did this because God spoke to me. That's how you close a conversation. When you use God as a shield to protect your own opinion. It lacks humility. Or how about this one? Perhaps you've done this, and maybe you're not a bad person, but you've yielded. And I have to tell you, in my life, I've yielded to these pressures of giving flattery, unwarranted flattery, with the intention of self-promotion. You don't question something. You sit in a room where you know what's happening should not be happening, and you let it slide. That too is dishonest. Or you sit in a room and you flatter someone who is not acting with consonance with our values and our morality, and you flatter that man or that woman. That too is dishonest. And so we have an honesty deficit. But hey, there's hope for this, because I think it's not enough to be descriptive. Hey, what is lying? Intentionally telling an untruth. Exaggerating for the purpose of impression. Omitting for the purpose of deceit. Or recruiting God into our own opinion and saying God spoke to us. Or flattery to help promote yourself. It's not just describing what lying is. We need to help people stop lying. We need to help ourselves to put barriers around it. Number one, create accountability. Have someone who will check you in love and say, hey, look, you're leaning a little bit too hyperbole here. You have a tendency to exaggerate. What's that about? What's missing in your heart, in your character? What needs of affirmation do you need that are so deep, that hunger to be affirmed so deep that it leads you either to omitting things or exaggerating things? Number one, seek accountability. Number two, practice truth-telling in a tactful way. This, I'm telling you, this takes practice, because there are people who are not adept at telling the truth in ways that do not intentionally offend. Practice saying, hey, I know this, but do it in a way that respects the person who's listening to you. Number three, search your heart for the inner appetites that either need affirmation or need applause. That deep reflection will help you and help me to stop lying. And number 4, confess. Confess when you've lied. Confession makes the soul lighter. Hey, listen, when I told you that it was not true. Forgive me. I did it because I wanted to impress you, or I did it because I have these voids in my heart that need attention. Will you help me? Will you forgive me? Now, look, I have to tell you that 4th one is hard, because when you confess, not everyone is willing to forgive. But at least you had the courage to confess and then say, I'm working on being a more honest and truthful person. Hey, we need more men and women, leaders, families, spouses, executives, who are committed to honesty. And honesty, listen to me, is a pursuit, and are committed to responding to their mom and dad's admonition when they were children. Stop lying. This is Pastor Gabe Salguero, always thanking you for listening to Optica and keeping your eyes open to see what God is doing. Till the next time.